you take one thing away from this video, let it be this thing, that one of the best ways you can help a guy who is going through hair loss, who is balding, is by... Okay guys, I am back. I know it's been a while since my last video, but I think today's video is one of my best. And the inspiration came from a family member, so you know who you are, thank you very much. But I have not seen another video like this on the whole of YouTube. So I know it's becoming increasingly rare, but I think this might actually be a YouTube first. And the discussion of today's video is going to be how to help your balding partner. Now, the reason why I think this is a YouTube first is because there are now quite a few videos on YouTube explaining how to self-help if you're going bald yourself, but it's not coming from the perspective of how to help your partner if they're going bald. And most of this video will sort of be coming from a heterosexual relationship, as in from wife to husband or girlfriend to boyfriend. It can apply to obviously same-sex couples as well, but I'm speaking primarily from a heterosexual sort of relationship. And I don't think this is discussed enough, because how you acknowledge and perceive your partner's hair loss can have a huge impact on how they perceive it themselves. So you actually have a really big role to play here. I'm speaking to you wives and girlfriends. You actually have a really big role to play here in terms of how to help your boyfriend who's going bald. And the reason why I say that is a particular topic, and that will be discussed later on in the video. But I really hope this helps you guys, especially if you've noticed that your partner is going bald. They might not have said anything to you yet, but maybe you've noticed and you're thinking in the back of your mind, okay, I can see they're not comfortable with this. How can I help? So let's get into the video and let's discuss how you can help your partner who's balding. So as I mentioned, you may have noticed that your boyfriend has been balding for a while. Maybe he's just started balding, or your husband, or maybe you've not noticed it yet. But my guesses are that you've noticed it, because I think women in particular are very good at picking up signs as to when your partner is not feeling 100% themselves. So your boyfriend might have noticed his hair started thinning a while ago, and he may not have said anything to you yet. And if he hasn't said anything to you yet, that's absolutely fine. Maybe he's just trying to process it himself. But what I would say is, don't bring it up with him until he mentions it himself, because the reason why I say that is, if you bring up the conversation, it might be perceived to him that you've noticed it as a problem, where he's already thinking, God, I hope people don't notice my hair loss. And if you bring it up, it makes it obvious that other people then know about it. And I think that hasn't given him time to sort of acknowledge his own hair loss if you bring it up with him initially without him saying anything first. So that would be my first key advice, is to let him bring it up with you first. And I think especially when it comes to men, they will do it in a light-hearted throwaway comment, because they probably don't want to be seen to be worrying about their hair loss. And that will be a point that I discuss later as well. And men don't want to seem to be worrying about their hair loss, because potentially it's just sort of a masculine thing. Maybe they think I should accept it, or maybe I should do something about it. Maybe they don't know what to do about it. Maybe they're the first person in their family to go bald. But what I would say is he will probably make a throwaway comment such as, oh, look at I can see my hairline going back. My hair looks terrible today. Are the temples here are they getting receding a little bit? Or the light shining through right onto my scalp. Can you see that? He won't sit you down and be like, look, I need to discuss my hair loss. He will probably make a throwaway comment, and that is your time then to discuss it with him. And when you discuss it with him, again, it doesn't need to be in a serious way, because then that sort of makes it into a serious problem when it doesn't have to be. So there's no need to sit him down and be like, look, husband, let's talk about this. I've noticed that you've been thinning for a while. Let's sit down and discuss. I don't think that is the right approach. I think the right approach is when he makes that throwaway comment, you just sort of stay in like a normal conversation, keep it lighthearted, easygoing, and be like, oh, okay, yeah. Now that you mention it, I did see that. If he obviously says, oh, have you noticed it previously? I would say, don't lie to him. Say, yeah, I did notice it was thinning slightly, because he will probably know anyway in the back of his mind that other people will know. So there's no point lying to him about that. But I would just say, if he makes that throwaway comment, that's your time to then sort of start a conversation about it. Now, I think one of the key things you have to do is actually sort of validate his feelings. So he will probably be feeling ashamed of his hair loss, maybe confused by it, maybe a bit worried by it. And I think if you then have that conversation with him, if you say to him, oh no, it'll be fine, don't worry about it, oh, it's not too bad, it's fine, no one can see it, that's not the right approach. Because he knows it's an issue. He knows other people can see it. He's worrying about himself. So if you just sort of try to brush it to one side, you're actually not targeting the issue which is in his mind. So I would say sort of validate his feelings firstly. Say, actually, yeah, it's understandable why it's like that. If you've had your hair your whole life, if you're losing it a little bit, sort of, it's a bit worrying initially that you've not lost your hair before, if it's new to you. And the reason I say this is because guys care about their body image just as much as girls do. And I think it's probably not discussed as much in sort of mainstream media. Normally sort of body image anxiety tends to be focused on women, I think. But I think increasingly so, and it probably always has, but I think increasingly so, guys also really care about their appearance and their body image and how people perceive them, rightly or wrongly. I think it's definitely an increasing thing. And what I would say is, imagine if you started losing your hair, how would you feel? You probably would be feeling worried about it. You probably would be feeling anxious about it. So just because he's a man, he could be a young man, old man, whatever it is, doesn't mean that you think, oh yeah, he'll be fine with it. There's no need to bring it up with him. No need to discuss it. Just brush it to one side. I think you actually need to sort of like address his feelings with it, because he will be feeling a negative way about his hair loss. And like I said, imagine if you started losing your hair, how would you feel? If someone just said, oh, brush it aside, don't worry about it, that wouldn't help solve the problem. And it wouldn't be the same case for a man either. But my guess is you already know that, because the reason why you found this video is because you're a loving wife, a loving girlfriend, you're compassionate, you're caring, you want to care about your partner's feelings, and I don't need to explain that to you. You know that already. But for those who aren't like that, I'm sure there's not many, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this. Just know that guys care about their body image just as much as girls do. So it's not a thing which should just be brushed to one side. Now, after the first step of not lying to him and allowing him to just explain his feelings to you and you help validate those feelings, the next step is to encourage him to accept it, I would say. Now, you will hear different things from different people, but my opinion will be is to encourage him to accept that he's losing his hair loss, because sometimes people from the outside of a hair loss situation actually know more than people who are going through it. So I can tell from personal experience, when I first started losing my hair, I initially started losing my hair on my crown, so you couldn't actually see it very much from the front, it was all at the back. And when I was having a look at mirrors and taking photos of it, I've talked about it in my videos before, but I was sort of in a bit of a denial stage. I was thinking, oh, maybe that's how my hair's always been. Maybe I've just got like a wide crown, which makes it look like my hair's thinner. Maybe it's just, the angle or the lighting in this particular place. So I would encourage him to accept it. Tell him that balding is a very normal thing, and that the majority of guys will go through hair loss at some stage during their lives. I'll make that clear straight away. If you say to him that, oh no, what can we do about this? That's not good. Oh, you're too young to be going bald. That's not the way to go about it, because actually, I can't remember what the statistic is exactly, but I think it's around 30% of guys will experience some form of hair loss before 25. That's quite a high amount, 30% of men. And by the time you get to 35, it's in the majority. It's like 60, 70% of men will experience some sort of hair loss. Now, after you've told him it's a natural thing which happens to guys, this is the key point, okay? So if you take one thing away from this video, let it be this thing, that one of the best ways you can help a guy who is going through hair loss, who is balding, is by making sure you let him know that you still find him sexy and attractive, okay? The reason why I say this is because whether he's knows it or not, maybe it's subconscious, he will think whilst he's losing his hair and going through hair loss that he's becoming more unattractive. And then that can spiral and he thinks maybe my wife or my girlfriend will no longer find me attractive. She won't love me anymore. She won't find me sexy anymore. She doesn't want to be in this relationship anymore. And believe it or not, for guys, that is a big, big thing about hair loss. And that's if you're currently in a relationship, because I know this, because if you're if you're currently single, one of the big things that goes through people's minds when they start losing their hair is, oh, I'm unattractive, I'll never be able to get a girl again. So if you're inside of a relationship, I think sometimes it can be even worse because you think my significant other won't love me anymore. Now you might think, that's silly, of course I'm gonna love my partner, of course I will. But for him, he's in a different mindset currently. He's not thinking straight because he's worrying about his hair loss, he's anxious about it. And one of the big things that's triggering his anxiety and his worry about it is that his partner, so you, won't find him sexy and attractive anymore. So the one thing from this video is, whilst he's losing his hair, find ways to make sure that he knows you find him really attractive still. If there's one thing you take away from this video, let it be that. Now, you will obviously know your own ways. I don't need to tell you ladies how to tell your man, how to tell him that you find him attractive, okay? Every relationship's different. You will find your own way to do that, but please make sure you do that. And that one thing can help him massively with his hair loss journey. Now, after you tell him that you will love him just as much and that you will find him just as attractive if he's losing his hair, I think one of the things that guys really like is trying to find a solution to something. So I think once you've sort of validated his feelings and explained to him that, you know, it's normal to be concerned about it, help him find a solution to it. Now, whether you've watched my videos before or not, I definitely advocate embracing hair loss. So I've changed my opinion slightly in terms of how you can accept it. I think there's different ways to accept hair loss. When I first started making these videos, I said, no, the only way to accept it is by shaving your head. And don't get me wrong, I still think that will work in 99% of cases, and that is by far the best way. However, the more I've sort of spoken to different guys, watched more videos and read more content on hair loss, I've realized there's different ways of accepting it. So some people might go down the hair transplant route. They might really like their hair and they might go down the hair transplant route, the finasteride and minoxidil. Now, if you're someone's partner, so finasteride is basically like a pill that you take and it helps sort of reduce hair loss. And minoxidil normally comes in sort of like a cream or a foam, and you apply it to the areas of your head where you're losing hair and it helps regrowth. So some people want to go down that route, but for me personally, what I would advocate for you women is to offer the solution of just shaving your head. Now, your partner will probably he'll probably give you a response of, no, I've got a weird shaped head. That's the main one. That's probably the first response you'll get. I can't do that. I've got a weird shaped head. I look like an egghead. My head's too big. You know, I don't have a beard. I won't be able to pull off a shaved head. But I think encourage him down that route, because the reason why I say that is if you start providing solutions which cover up his hair loss. Now, I think one of the worst things you can do is probably suggest a wig or a toupee or something like that. Now, the reason why I think that is because I believe that it's a way of hiding your hair loss. And it's a way to make you feel that you're ashamed of it and that you're not confident just going out into the world with a bald head, that you have to hide something. Now, the reason why I don't suggest that is because do you want a partner who's ashamed of who he is? Because not only is that going to affect himself, that's going to affect you, because ultimately you're in a relationship with him, a long-term relationship with him. You might be his wife. So if you've got a partner who's not confident and who's anxious about being in the world because of his hair loss, and he's trying to cover it up with whatever way he goes about covering it up, that's also going to affect you because you've got a partner with low self-esteem. Now, wouldn't you want a partner who's confident with the way he looks and with a bald head? Because ultimately, if he's confident and he's happy, you're going to be happier as well. That's what I think anyway. I think that sort of makes sense. Now, obviously, shaving your head is not going to work for every single guy, even though I think it works for most of them. So help him find solutions online, maybe tell him, maybe go with him to see a GP, see what medication they can prescribe. Even if he doesn't want you to look into solutions, just constantly reassure him that, you know, I still find you attractive, whatever you decide to do. Because ultimately, it'll be up to the guy deciding how he wants to approach his own hair loss himself. So you can, as the phrase goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So you can provide all these solutions, but ultimately it's up to your partner as to what he decides is best for him. One of the things I was thinking about, and I think this is where women are especially really good at with their partners, is if he does decide to shave his head and you love it, as I'm sure you will, and you want to, you know, help him in some way, maybe he hasn't suggested it, but just maybe recommend a new style for him, a new outfit for him to wear to suit his new look, because he probably will look quite different. And I think initially, even if you're not used to it, you'll get used to it very quickly. And maybe his old look now doesn't suit a bald head look. So maybe he wants a new look to go with his new bald head, and maybe he suggested it himself. Oh, you know, let's get some new outfits. Maybe he's feeling it. He's rocking it now. Go with him to the shops. You know, go maybe suggest some clothes for him to wear. Make sure that he knows and that you know that he looks good. Again, just going back to my previous point, I think that's one of the ways that you can help. Because his old look might not suit his new look, but maybe growing out the beard or a particular facial hairstyle or something like that, I think could really work. So I think we'll wrap it up there, guys, because this video is already quite long, but feel free to comment down below if you've got any questions regarding how you can help your partner. I think I've covered the main topics there. But I really hope that helps, guys. And I think this is a bit of a YouTube first, because I don't think anyone's covered it from a partner's point of view. So I hope that helps. Take care, everyone. I'll see you next time.